Oh, so we started a spring cleanup, kind of preemptive I guess, but I'm going with shorts weather here. It's going to be 40s, mid 40s, high 40s coming up. So I just figured I'd update and show some of the ways it looked when it started and some of the progress that we've obviously made up to this point. Some of the choices as far as what I'm going to do when it comes to outside. And so like I was saying with that, the troughs to me are going to be what's along the sides. I want to be able to level them out with the bottom of the polytunnel tubing that would be going across. And I think with what I have in here, how I do that in the polytunnel would be with two standard size gutters that run essentially the whole length, and use a gutter cap on there for putting holes in to run along. And I could do two parallel to each other that go and drop and come all the way back, you know, so it'd be a substantial amount of trough hydroponics. And then right inside, or right below that where the comes and kicks in, I do a raised bed. It would be 2 feet wide by the length of that long. And then again down the center, I'm gonna have drip hydroponics, but it's gonna be the towers. I got a design I'm working on that uses HVAC tubing, metal tubing, that I can suspend and have catch into a common trough that runs the length under, and then gets sprayed down with misters and that kind of stuff into the tubing, and then is allowed to go back into the space in the bottom. I'm debating on whether I want to have like a closed system or if it'll be a little more open. You know, in the summertime I guess it won't matter as much, but in the wintertime that'd be humidity and all that to keep it going right. And like I said, everything in here at this point germinated in December. I can't remember the exact dates without looking, but I think it was right around the 10th to the 15th is when we started prepping the seeds, when we got the room far enough with the box built and all that. And so everything in here has been grown throughout the winter so far. Our tomatoes are now starting to flower, so we're going to do some hand germinating and get those fruiting. And like I said, these ones have almost caught up with the crack key ones, so it's kind of up and down for the two of them. We got broccoli, we got Brussels sprouts going in cracky pots. We got our sweet peppers, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower germinating. We thinned them out, and again, they were nothing was really germinating too well. Not nothing. Certain things weren't germinating too well throughout the winter, and so when these peppers specifically went off, it was cool. So we've got those going, and we had done 3 seeds in every hole, and everything basically came through. So we got a bunch of those ready. I always collect the cups from lodge and different gatherings and that kind of stuff. And when we get out in the polytunnel and are expanding and growing, I'd like to be able to get those soil block makers for starts and stuff. Try to eliminate as much connection to plastic as possible. So that's, like I said, when I do the trough system, that's going to be made with metal. It'll be gutters, and then the plant towers themselves will be made out of HVAC tubing. I'm thinking either 12-inch, maybe a 16. We'll see. I think 12 would be ideal, since I want to do them about this far each arm from it, but I want to offset, so this one would be a little like where this empty space is and zigzag through down the whole center of the space. And then that allow me to also put in little crack key spots throughout there, or hang them. I was thinking about trying to do some of the suspended tomatoes and stuff, just experiment, you know, see what all we can pull off. But like I said, I'm going to be doing row planting as well. I'm going to do a lot of squash, and I want to do a lot of stuff that can be put into a root cellar. I think that's one of my projects, is going to be making a great big root cellar that we can use for members, that they can have a little shelf space where they can keep their personal items. So we got peppers and tomatoes. These tomatoes are, I don't know if you can see the pot too well, but those are getting to the point now where they're basically needing water pretty much every day and a half-ish. It goes down to where it's almost to the plastic. I don't ever let it get down that far, but I have a little pen mark in there. We got those wired to the cage over there. I'm gonna have to get some more lighting. I think that's one of the issues I've had here, is the first time I've really tried to, in this type of scenario, use the fluorescence in this way. A lot of times when I was doing the other types of grow rooms, we had a ton of incandescents, and I said those were awesome, especially in the wintertime. It adds heat. You don't have to, in my experience, we do the 1,000 watts, couple thousand watts staggered with 400 watts. or filled in the spaces with that, and we had amazing results from that. So cucumbers, kale's getting going. Some more broccoli and tomatoes, Brussels sprouts, sweet peppers. There's our bok choy. Man, that's really kicking butt. Tomatoes. So whenever I trim them, I put a little diatomaceous earth on the wound. Yeah, these guys are all flowering. They're getting happy. Yeah, and then I got my outdoors. So these are the dirt starts for the lettuces I'm going to do outdoors. I got a bunch of the next generation of hydroponics, of the trough hydroponic plants ready over here. One second, pull these drawers open so I can kind of get a view in there. So here's my little germination station. These are the next round of lettuces. I'm going to do quite a bit more. And I didn't do any head lettuce for the hydroponics there. I'm just going to stick with these leafy ones. Chit potato starts. I love those. They look like little creatures. Especially when they first started. This one, it looked like slug antennas. They're cool though. They're ugly cute. A ton of them. We're going to fill that space. So that's where all the lights are in there. We're going to fill that bottom. So in the meantime, I'm going to set up another light in here. I'm going to decide where I got, like I said, one of those 4 light systems out there. And I have a couple of these lights that broke in shipping. But if you, I don't know if you can see these. This is a piece for these T2s so that it fits into a bigger T5. And you can keep doing that up to a T8. So you can put T5s and T8. And I don't know if it's just these lights that I bought that are like that, but that's how they are. If you get the T2s, it's basically either a T8 or a T5 with all of these adapters going down to the T2. So we've been munching on all these as we go, so they kind of look like the rabbits got at them. We're going to clean these up, probably harvest these, have a nice big salad dinner, and put some of the other ones in, or get those the rest of those in here going. Carrots are kicking butt. I never thinned them out. It's like whatever. I assumed I'd honestly probably harvest them before they got huge like that. And I've never, I mean honestly, even when I plant them out in the garden, I only thin them out so much, and they are crowded, but they always still seem to come through like droves. So I just let it be what it is. The idea of the energy consumption, water consumption, you know, I was taking notes on all that kind of stuff, and it's not going to be that bad. The amount of energy we use, even just for these lights in here, added onto my bill, I'd say it was only less than $100 a month, except for there was a couple weeks there where my tank had run out of gas, and so I was having to use space heaters in here, and I think it went up to about 110, 120. But for the amount of food I'm going to get in that, it's well worth it, and it also gives me a beginner idea of how much I'm going to be using out in the outdoor space. I do have power systems that I'm prototyping that will take the cost of energy, and well, I said we'll cover that eventually. I'm going to keep my name off of certain lists with that kind of stuff. Everything's happy, everything's rolling, and again, everything was done as of winter time. And on that topic with the seeds, I couldn't get any head lettuce to germinate. I couldn't get any bell peppers to germinate. What else? I think it was cabbage. I couldn't get any cabbage to germinate. So there are, and now in the last week I have gotten the bell peppers to germinate, and we got a tomato that had a bunch of sprouting seeds. Or actually we had the tomatoes on the vines we had gotten, and there was a bunch of seeds already sprouting inside of them, and so we got those started, and we'll be growing those. But there's some seeds that apparently just, and it wasn't just one container of seeds. It was, I tried many different seeds from many different things. I had seeds I had our garden last year. I had seeds from heirloom packages I bought. So last year I had bought a ton of different seeds, some to store, some to use. I got in a couple of these guys, and then just a whole bunch of different seeds. And then plus I had a ton left over from just forever. And so I had multiple different types of each one, the lettuces and the peppers, all that. And I just couldn't get any of those to germinate in the wintertime. And I tried different mediums to start them. I tried them in different, you know, little hydroponic things. I tried them in the paper towels. I tried them in the dirt. I tried them in, you name it. And I just could not get those ones to germinate. So if it's something to do with the winter, possibly, I don't know. But like I said, I recently just got a whole bunch of the sweet peppers to germinate. And it is feeling springish around here, and it's still cold out today. But for the next week, it's all in the mid to high 40s. And so even throughout the summertime, this is all going to stay here. And we're going to be getting our head around constant propagation, or how to cycle different plants in and out timing wise to be able to have a steady return on the plants. And then as far as like the hand germinating, I've done it outside before, but I've never been solely reliant upon it as far as like the tomatoes and peppers and all that in here. So that'll be new. And then just how do I hand pollinate staggered times, because not all the flowers are coming out at the same time. There's just different questions I have, and that's what this is for, to answer those questions. And I'll be able to scale this up. And this is a tiny version, but that's, for me, I'm able to glean quite a bit of information from this that I'll be able to translate out to or extrapolate out to a much larger system. And so I'm shooting for 100-foot polytunnel, but we'll see what happens as far as financially and all that. I can only afford so much, unless I said I was in an accident and I'm on the last leg of the settlement and all that, so I'll be able to handle these things on my own. But I am also talking to the USDA, applying for different things like that. So, but one way or another, we're going to work it out. And I have a friggin' giant garden. Not giant, I guess. I have a 44-foot medicine wheel circle in my yard that we garden in, as well as I have a big garlic patch outside of that, squash area. I have another grain bin that I want to convert this year into almost like a greenhouse. Put some poly around it and all that, and almost like turning the grain bin into a greenhouse, and use that, make some tall plant towers. So my grain bin out in the yard is 18 feet tall, something like that. 24 at the point in the center or something. Anyway, I want to try my hand with, I want to put a catwalk around the perimeter, and then do some really, really tall hydroponic towers, and then just access them from that to have it so that they can turn, and then I can go around the catwalk and access and harvest and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, eliminate dead space. We can do, and even with these kind of lights, we can hang them sideways, vertically, put them inside, around. Everything would be silver like that. So even if this is only 400 watt, but if I had 3,000 watts with some fluorescence throughout there, that would be beautiful. And like I said, it's the incandescents are extremely powerful, and with the ballast, they're not as cheap as fluorescent or LED by any means, but it's not so astronomical that if you wanted to do something like this in your basement or in a spare room, or this is my garage. So this space is half. Let me show you. That's a garage door. This is about a little over half of so it's like a car and a half driving. It's a 2-stall garage, and so that's just a little space in there. And so we've only been able to consume the lettuces so far, but once they got like this to this point, it's me, my wife, and 2 daughters, and my one daughter's companion, and this has been, at this point now, starting to keep up with what we're eating as far as salads and sandwiches and stuff like that. So I think once all of these things start flowering, and some of these, when they start bringing out fruits and all that, are going to be more of a continuous type thing, kind of like the lettuce. So I got a feeling that doing it this way is going to be a lot easier than what I anticipated in my head. I blew this up into being something really scary, but I think we're going to be able to produce a lot and rationalize the cost, and once we translate all this into a big space, I said the people that are members or CSAs, or how we end up putting that together, they'll be able to have food and fresh vegetables, weekly, and then have a space to keep all of their other stuff. Right? So we're going to do a traditional braiding of onions, of garlic. Squash will be curing and getting ready to put on shelves for the winter and stuff like that. Potatoes will have bins set up and everything to be able to do it the old way and keep things good, and anything that is waste will then go be used for something else, either feeding animals or going towards making ethanol or methane or vegetable oils. There's so much waste. So when you have a system like this, you can direct all of the waste and have it not be waste anymore. It's waste. It could be becoming energy, electricity. The compost system I have on my design, it's got a back wall that would come off, and I want to have it bays all the way across the back, and so that way you could have different compost piles going and have that hooked up to an actual boiler system and have that engineered so that you can use that for actuating mechanical things, you can use that for heating, you can use that for power, and anybody in proximity, you'd be able to then assist them with that, especially the fuels. You'd be able to make ethanol for racing gas, biodiesel, cans of methane, pressurized methane, all these things that are usually not even considered with traditional farming. And then, like I said, if we have enough of these going in enough places, the regenerative farming will then can do what it's meant to do and let the ground heal for animal husbandry, for feeding the animals well, and then there's no competition with having to grow things in places that are still under the process of healing. As well as, like I said, some places don't have soil. On the reservation, the ground is not ripe for planting, and then you have some of these disasters that happen that if you put in something like this within, 4 to 5 months, you can be bearing fruit. And if you include sprouts in this type of stuff as well, with eggs and fish, like I said, in the polytunnel in the greenhouse, it'd be just as easy to farm fish as it is to do vegetables. So in a place where that you're needing to provide ongoing food, you could build one of these systems there. And like I said, if you had fish brought in, you could have food within days, and then a cycle of stuff coming back continuously within a month, and then a couple months for these types of things. Sprouts could be within a week. These would be in a few months. But you could provide a community if you could support them financially in the meantime for disaster areas, and then put one of these in and then have them self-sufficient, or not, you know what I mean, but something close to that with some of the healthiest food there is available. Organic doesn't come close to what this actually is. These are plants that have jammed out to music, felt love and appreciation. And that's the idea of temple farming, is to grow food with the compassion and the intention that people that are going to be consuming it get blessings of good health and good help. Said you wouldn't put your cat or dog with somebody that's not a cat or dog person. Your food should be grown by somebody that loves it and appreciates it and recognizes the gift that it's giving us, to sustain us like that. When I was young, I would have never known I'd be this interested in plants and stuff like this, but here I am. They amaze me, they really do. So, but again, like I said, this is a 3-month update on the hydroponic farm system. Appreciate your time. I hope